Love is something to share as it is unequaled, but there are stories that unfortunately do not have a happy ending and others that if you have it below we have the top 10 of the most recognized love stories in Mexico. Number 1, Popocatépetl and Iztaccíhuatl. The two volcanoes that adorn the view of Mexico City. They keep one of the most beautiful legends that exist. When the Mexicas dominated the Valley of Mexico, the Plastic Cacique decided to fight for the freedom of its people and started a terrible war between Aztecs and Tlaxcaltecas the Beautiful. And you are the same daughter of the chief of Tlaxcala was in love with the young Popocatépetl. One of the main warriors of this people both professed an immense love for what. Before leaving the war, the young man asked the cacique the hand of his daughter if he returned victorious, and he accepted the treatment during the wait. A jealous man and enemy of Popocatépetl looked for Iztaccíhuatl to lie to him that his great love had lost his life in combat. When he found out, the princess bitterly mourned the loss of his beloved, dying of a deep sadness. When the brave warrior returned with the victory, knew of the sad news, heartbroken, decided to honor his beloved, ordered to build a tomb on the top of a huge mountain. Popocatépetl led to these equal to the top layer, gave him a kiss when a torch. Basasichi waterfall located in the Sierra Tarahumara. This cascade is one of the finest, fine, delicate and tall in Mexico. Tells the story that Count Amena, master and lord of the high traumatized lands, had a daughter of extraordinary beauty named Basasichi. Count Amena was a very jealous father, and the suitors imposed a series of tests so that one could marry his daughter. Basasichi waited anxiously for the winner, and it is believed that he surely loved some of those who participated in the tests imposed by his father. For passed the test Tonichi, lord of the peaks, for Marchi, the one beyond the ravines. I will make put to Puigand, lord of the green valleys, and Karachi of the filigrees of the wind. Carol, however, in the last test imposed by Count Amena, the four died without the legend. Zapotica, Donaji and Nuka vanished. Number 3, there was not a time in Oaxaca. The Mixtecas and Zapotecas peoples became enemies after having defeated the Mexicas together in the confrontation that had these two tribes. Oaxaca as the Mixtec warrior Nucano, he was taken prisoner by the Zapotecs. While he was prisoner, the Zapotec princess Donaji discovered him, took care of him, fell in love with him and released him. When he was free, he asked his people to end the war, but he demanded the princess Donaji as a guarantee of peace. Discovering his peacemaking plan, the mystics decided to avenge themselves by sacrificing the princess near the river at Oyak, place where she was buried. It is said that when she was never found, her body was fresh without putrefaction, and her head a lily mackay, the jewel of eternal love. Within the Mayan kingdom existed a beautiful princess called Accuse, who her father, the king in one of Tuxpan, committed her to the prince of the city of Nanchang, called Capable, who would be future lord of the kingdom. The beautiful Excuse did not accept the will of her father, since she was secretly in love with a young farmer named Krolpol, who, knowing that it was an impossible love, had no other choice but to see herself behind closed doors every day. When the king knew they were lovers, ordered to sacrifice Achulpal, but the suffering of his daughter prevented him from doing so. The king asked the priests of the village for help, who advised him to turn the chalpan into an insect, and so it happened. Later was handed over in the form of a beetle to the young woman, desolate at the mercy of her father, to the princess Cusa. She had no choice but to fulfill and marry the escaped prince, but that did not prevent her from separating from the chalpan, to whom she swore eternal love despite her appearance. When she made peace, discovered that the beetle was nothing more and nothing less than Charpal, tried to crush it but managed to escape it because of the intentions of her husband Accuse. It occurred to him to camouflage actual as jewels, so he sent the beetle to adorn it gold and beautiful diamonds so that she could bring it as an accessory and always close to her heart. To this kind of necklace is called maquette, and currently the marquee continues to be one of the favorite jewels of the Yucatecan women. Number 5. Gonzalo Warrior and as a Mexican mestizaje tells the legend that in the year 1511 a young Spanish sailor named Gonzalo Warrior shipwrecked in the peninsula of Yucatan, where he was captured by Mayans and converted to slave. Of the shipwreck only survived Gonzalo Warrior and Lighthouse. He was also a slave, but later he would return to the side of the Spaniards, serving as interpreter of Hernan Cortés for his part. Gonzalo Guerrero. For years he worked under the orders of the caciques, but little by little he was able to integrate into Mayan society. His sympathy, loyalty and his vast military knowledge earned him freedom and a rank within his new environment, becoming the right arm of the king of Chetumal. Thanks to the closeness with the Mayan royalty, Gonzalo Warrior met and fell in love with the beautiful Princess Asil. To the trust that had won the young European with the king was enough to give his daughter Cecilia, and Warrior married, and soon they had 4 children, so by many are considered the first Mexican fruits of the mestizaje. His position as husband of the princess made him king of Chetumal. The love that had him warrior to Asilhaya, his new homeland, was so great that several years later he would die in battles against the Spanish conquerors today in the Maya region. Gonzalo Guerrero is considered as the father of the mestizaje. Number 6. The pirate Munduca and the brunette. The island women many years ago served as the setting for the love story of the pirate Fermin Munduca and his love so passionate for an island woman, Fermin Antonio Munduca, and deserves to make sail to the island women to hide from a crime. He was a mercenary explorer and slave trafficker. Settling on the island was considered a selfish man and isolated, but there built a hacienda called teaching that is worth sharing, because the pirate at that time met the brunette, a beautiful young girl of Yucatan parents, of which he fell madly in love, and which the predecessors tell for many years offered him the greatness of his estate so that the girl would live at his side, but did not turn out, even if he made every detail of the estate with love for her, return that feeling and went to the arms of another. Young Fermin Munduca died full of melancholy in Yucatan, and it is said that he died of love. Still conserved his tomb that has in his epitaph and legend, "What you are I was what I am then." You will be preferring, surely, "I don't accept his love for considering him too old for her," and that's when we see that love is not bought with money, but it can. Hernan Clertius and the Malinche. Although many were expecting this story, I had my serious doubts of including it as a love story, because it seemed more a matter of convenience than a romantic story. The truth is that it was needed in each other, and about that need was growing respect and perhaps love from Malinali towards the Spanish conqueror. For his part, Hernan Cortés, even though he had a son called Martin with Merinor, Malinali actually once the Tenochtitlan fell, and it was not so necessary for him to displace it and return to the arms of his wife Catalina Jores, who arrived from Cuba, so he sought an accommodation for his concubine with another man. Hernan Cortés was certainly a womanizer, and although he had many shows of affection with Marina, also there are other clues that tell us that was not so great that affection, or that meaningful that cuts in the letters that he wrote. I never mentioned it, nor even leaves some small message that is proof of its existence on his part. I misunderstand it if is hopelessly in love with him, as described by the Mexican author Irinea Peace in his novel Dona Marina of 1883. When Cortés gave him the news that he would leave her to return to his wife Catalina Jores, she exclaimed that he would wait until the days with the fruit of his love in belly that would Rather die than see him. Courteous was his master her owner, her slave. Tell me to stay, and I will know to be Indian, the submissive slave of your wife. But this was not enough, for the luck was cast, and Courteous would not return. State of Guanajuato is very present, a poetic and romantic story of Anahi, Carlos or Carmen and Louis, different names that have been handled in the same legend, but it is the same story which, although ending in tragedy, left a beautiful belief that captivates lovers in this city. Is heard the story of a young Spanish and a mestizo miner who lived a secret romance because they were in their balconies separated by 68 centimeters secretly from her father because of the prohibition of the beliefs of that time by the social classes. The drama comes when the couple is discovered on the balconies by the father, who coldly stabs his daughter with a dagger in the chest, marking the end of his stories. The lover holds his hand and fires her with a kiss in love, to be kissed on the third step of the staircase that passed under the balcony, because if they did they would use 7 years of deep love. Number 9. Augustine D. Iturbide and the secret relationship that they maintained. Augustine D. Iturbide and the famous Rodriguez Guillermo was important part for achieving the independence of Mexico. As we know, Augustine D. Iturbide was married to Ana Huart, but the love he felt for the Rodriguez group could not hide it, because even on the day of the entrance of the Trigarant army to the city of Mexico, Iturbide saw them the route that had been planned only to pass through the professed street in which was the house of Doña Maria Ignacia Rodriguez de Velasco, to witness the parade, and the very arrogant in front of the troops invited by her grandmother did everything to help Iturbide to become an important figure of the time, because first convinced the Viceroy Apodaca of appoint Augustine as head of the realistic army, then persuaded Iturbide to agree to the independence of Mexico with other army leaders and guerrillas, and if it were not convincing, and forget to include in the plan to equalize that the Congress was the one who will appoint the new emperor of the free country, because the Gorra had a high level of persuasion with the members of the chamber. At the end, everything happened as she had planned, and Iturbide became emperor. Number 10. Porfirio Diaz and Juana Catalina Romero. Cata was an island of Zapotec ancestry that has become legend, not only thanks to its important role in the stories that are told about his relationship with Don Porfirio. History tells that the then president of Mexico and Doña Cata had affairs for more than half a century, and that this relationship was so important for Don Porfirio that he did the impossible to modify the route of train Tramsis Meno, making it pass by the Casona de Doña Cata, and so that you can visit it at will. There is probably a lot of fiction in this story, but from it comes the tale that under the petticoats of a Peruvian woman can hide in general. Thank you for your attention, and happy day of love and friendship. The Academy of Languages wishes you. Love is something to share as it is unequaled, but there are stories that unfortunately do not have a happy ending, and others that if you have it. Below we have the top 10 of the most recognized love stories in Mexico. Number 1. Popocatépetl and Iztaccíhuatl. The two volcanoes that adorn the view of Mexico City. They keep one of the most beautiful legends that exist. When the Mexicas dominated the Valley of Mexico, the Plastic Cacique decided to fight for the freedom of its people and started a terrible war between Aztecs and Tlaxcaltecas the Beautiful. And you are the same daughter of the chief of Tlaxcala was in love with the young Popocatépetl. One of the main warriors of this people both professed an immense love for what. Before leaving the war, the young man asked the cacique the hand of his daughter if he returned victorious, and he accepted the treatment during the wait. A jealous man and enemy of Popocatépetl looked for Iztaccíhuatl to lie to him that his great Love had lost his life in combat. When he found out, the princess bitterly mourned the loss of his beloved, dying of a deep sadness when the brave warrior returned.